So this is going to be the new video manual for the Balsa USA Build Caddy. So we have a couple of things here I wanted to point out that when you get your kit, you're going to want to make sure you have. You should have the back base plate. You should have drawer fronts. You should have 2 drawer fronts. You should have 2 drawer backs. This is your extra support piece across the front. You should have 3 shelves. One's going to be for your drawers, which will have no notches. 2 shelves that have notches all the way around. You're going to have 2 drawer bottoms. You're going to have your curved shelf, your bottom support piece. You're going to have 2 pieces of 1/4 by 1/4 bass and 1 piece of 1/4 by 1/4 balsa. You're going to have 4 drawer sides. You're going to have 4 sidecar caddies. You're going to have 4 sidecar caddy supports. And you're going to have your donut that goes on your included dowel rod. First thing you're going to want to do is find your 2 side pieces. Now you want to take a look at these. They should match. They should be exactly the same. And these are going to be your side pieces, like that. So what you want to do is you want to take one set of your side pieces, and what I did was I went ahead and put all of my shelves in and just tack glued them in place. And then I placed my top on so that I could get all of my pins aligned, and then I moved on from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started putting my shelves in. You're going to have 1 shelf that doesn't have any notches. That shelf is actually going to go towards the front. That's going to be the shelf that houses your drawers. So you're not going to want the notches on the front. So as you look at this, the front pieces aren't going to have any notches. Okay? And all I simply did was block this up so that I make sure I get it straight. And then I can tack glue this in place. Now what you're going to notice is you're not going to want to try to use thin on this. Thin isn't really going to work on this Baltic birch plywood very good. It's not going to give you much holding strength. So what I did is I went in and I just tack glued in place with a little thick. And at this point I'm just going to put a dot and another dot and another dot. And then I'm going to hit that with some kicker. That should hold that in place so that I can get the rest of this built. And with the kicker, it's only going to take it a couple of seconds to adhere. Okay? Then you're going to want to move on to your next shelf. And it's really simple. All you got to do is line up these pins. The top will have, so this is the middle between the shelves. This is the top of the shelves. That one will actually have notches in it because that's where your support piece goes for the front. And I'm going to show pictures of how all this thing goes together so you can see. So simply go in, and the same way you did it before. I like to use these 1, 2, 3 blocks for stuff like this because I know they're going to be straight and level, and my pieces are going to be straight and level. Again, I'm just going to go through and just tack glue this. You want to remember when you get this all done, you want to go back through and actually glue it together good. This is just a way for me to get it together so that I can get it built. And then once I get it built, I'll go back through and glue it all together good. So again, with the kicker, that's only going to take it a couple of minutes to attach on there. And that'll hold that in place. Then the next piece is going to be your curved shelf. So your curved shelf goes towards the back piece here. So this is the back, this is the front. And your curved shelf goes with the curve facing the front. Now, what you've got here is you've got your top pieces. This is your organizer pieces. Your organizer pieces, you're going to have to go through and pop out the little roundies. Get those out of there. You can go back when you're done and sand all these down so they're nice and flat. These actually have a T-pin puller, so you'll want to hang on to those. Those come in handy. And I always hang on to these little circles because there's other things I can use them for. I'm actually going to be making a GoPro mount off of those. Now, one of the things you want to make sure you do is this piece here with the glue slots in it is going to be the top. So you're going to want to make sure you put that on top. And you're going to want to make sure that you put the glue holder towards the front. So it's going to go on there just like that, with the glue holder towards the front. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing here with my 1, 2, 3 blocks. Just sandwich them together on there so that's nice and straight. And then your bottom piece will go with the small holes towards the back so that you can put screwdrivers, you can put Allen wrenches, whatever it is you're going to put in your caddy, they will pass through. And then the front will have the stop for where you put your glue. I'm going to move that out of my way for right now. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the last couple pieces. I'm just going to tack glue this together. I'm just going to literally put a little dot of glue in a couple of spots so that it'll hold itself together while I build it. You don't want to go too crazy with the glue because if you do make a mistake, it's easy to come back. And you can cut that out of there or use a little bit of debonder on there. And those pieces should be able to come back apart. So you don't want to go too crazy with it in the beginning. Now you're going to take your organizer back. And you're going to put that in place. Or your organizer bottom, I should say. Go ahead and use whatever means necessary to make sure it's nice and square. You'll want to make sure that's pushed down good. Just put a little dot and a little dot. Again, just tack gluing, just like that. Hit that with a little Balsa USA gold kicker. That'll take a couple of seconds to set up, and then you can pull your blocks out of the way. So go ahead and get your bottom drawer. This isn't going to be a drawer, I should say. It's the bottom of the drawers. If you look on your pieces, your drawer bottoms are going to be actually marked with the drawer bottoms. So the pieces that aren't marked, drawer bottoms, are going to be all of the pieces that you use to build it. These particular pieces are going to be all lined up, all set up on here, so that you're going to wind up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And when you put your side on there, you'll have to line up all those tabs. Again, that's probably going to be the most difficult part of this build. But after some trial and error, I figured out the easiest way to get it all to go together without many issues. Go ahead and hit that with some tack glue and just let it set for a second. Now you can get your blocks out of the way. So this is probably going to be the most difficult part of the whole build. That's getting all of these tabs to line up for your top pieces. If you just take your time and put them in there one at a time, it's not too bad. All I'm doing is lining up the tabs with the top piece as I go. And as I go down, they should pop into place fairly easy. This is why we didn't want you to put the back on together first. Now, if you're building this and you have a better way that you want to try it, or a way that you're more comfortable with, you can go ahead and feel free to build this however you want. There's a lot of tabs to line up. And see, now you can see I've pretty much got everything lined up. And then what I did was I came down through. You're going to want to make sure that you have a little bit of paper towel handy for this step, because I try not to make a mess. And then what I do is I just go down. I put a little thick on each one of these tabs as I go. And then I just flex the tab a little bit, move the side up and down. I wipe off the excess, and then I hit that with some kicker. That'll solidify those up so they won't go anywhere on you. That is already set in there, so it's not going to move. Then you can go on to the next one. If you're lining them up as you go, this is going to be very easy to do. You don't want to go overboard with the glue. You don't need a ton on these pieces. And then I just flex it a little bit. That lets a little bit of that thick get down on top of the tab. I wipe off the excess. And then I hit it with a little bit of kicker. So now you'll put it here like this on the back, and you'll go ahead and put your back on. Again, there's going to be a lot of tabs to line up, and if you take your time, everything should be fairly easy. Now what you might have to do, because some of these are going to be a little bit flexed, is you might have to stand it up and flex the tabs a little bit down, or up in this case, to get them to pop into place. Each shelf is going to be just a little bit off. That's normal. And you're just going to want to make sure you take the time to get all these tabs lined up as you go, so that your pieces will fit together. So I'm going to grab a little standard screwdriver. And I'm going to use that to help me get the tabs in place. You'll see them when they pop into place. It all should fit really easy. And you can use either a number 11, or in the case I'm using here, I'm using a little standard screwdriver. I got a little tiny one here to move all those tabs over. And once you get those all popped into place, they will all fall in there. Just like that. So now all my tabs are in place. I'm going to go through and do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm just going to go through each tab, put some thick on the tab, flex them, up, get some of that glue work down inside there. And then wipe off the extra. Kicker. And now you can see we're pretty much together. We're going to want to make sure we go back through when we're done and solidify all these pieces and make sure everything's glued strong. But right there is pretty much almost finished. We've only got just a couple more pieces to put on. So what I did at this point is I put it on its back. You want to be careful not to put any pressure on this, because you've got your paper towel holder in the back and you don't want to break those off. These trim pieces go on the bottom, and then what I did after I checked the fit, I just run a little bit of thick down each one of these legs, just like this, and then I hit the piece that I'm gluing with the kicker. So then when I put this in place, it's only going to take it a couple of seconds, and it's going to be there, and it's going to be in place, and you're not going to have any issues at all. Okay, that's in there. Good to go. Now you have your front piece, or your, I should say, your upper support piece, Your upper support piece is going to go right at the top between your organizer slots. After checking for fit to make sure it's there, go ahead and add your thick. And again, I'm just going to go down each leg of the slots. This is going to add extra stability. It's going to make it really sturdy. I'm going to put a little kicker on the back of my plate. Now, if you're not comfortable using the kicker like I am, that's totally fine. A lot of people like the work time. Just remember, if you do it another way, if you don't use the kicker, it's going to take it a second to dry. So you're going to want to make sure before you start moving it around very much that you give it a second to dry. And there you go. That part's finished. Now, what we have left is we have our drawers. So for your drawers, you are just going to build these separately, and you will be able to get them all built and put them in there, and you'll see how those go. So again, the drawers are going to be really easy. I'm only going to bore you with building one. So you've got your labeled drawer bottoms. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put where it says drawer bottom down, just because I like it better like that. And then all you really got to do is go through, and I take my 1, 2, 3 blocks and I line these up just to hold everything in place. Again, you're going to have 2 drawer fronts, 2 drawer backs, and 2 drawer sides for each drawer. And you'll see how they fit together. Make sure you put the flat part without the notches on the top, because that's the top of your drawer face. These all should snap together relatively easy. I'm just putting the 1, 2, 3 blocks in there to kind of hold everything together. Just like that. And that's your drawer. And again, what I'll do is I'll go into the corner here. Make sure you press down on it. And I'm just going to put some thick right in this corner. I'm going to let that thick kind of run down in the corner there. And then I'm going to hit it with some kicker. You don't want to go overboard with the glue, because it's going to leave an edge in there, and that'll be more important later when you start getting stuff put in here, to not have that all boogered up with glue. Now what you can do is something that I didn't do, what I'm going to do now is put a little bit of wax paper down so you don't glue yourself to the bench. So I'm going to wax paper that before I get too far along. Again, if you're being super careful with your glue, you don't necessarily have to wax paper down, but it just makes it a little safer as you're doing this, so that way you don't run into issues. You can see that corner is already set up. So on this side, I'm going to get all my notches plugged in. Go ahead and put a 1, 2, 3 block just to make sure that I'm square. I'm going to push down on the top and add my thick to the corner. Going to let it run down onto the bottom a little bit. And as soon as it gets there, I'm going to hit it with some kicker. And it'll just literally take it seconds. So now what you do is you'll build the other drawer exactly like that one. and you have your drawers. So what I would do at this point, because everything's together and everything's all square and everything looks good, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take my thick and run a nice thin bead down each drawer. And then I'm going to push it together a little bit. Hit it with some kicker. So that drawer is going to be nice and solid. You're just going to create a little fillet in this in the inside of that drawer so that it holds itself together as you use your caddy. And if you give that a second when you put it down and kind of let it set, you don't end up with too much glue inside your drawer. So I kind of let it set for a second. Hit it with some kicker and then kind of push everything together so those middle tabs are nice and solid. There you go. What's going to be very important to do as you build your drawers is to make sure they're completely dry before you try to fit them into your caddy. I'm going to move on and build my other drawer, and I will catch up to you in just a couple of minutes. Okay, now that I've got everything stuck together, I've got my two drawer faces, or my two drawers built. I'm going to go ahead and put on my top shelf support. And again, that only goes on there one way, so you'll see how it goes. It's basically the same piece that's here, just flipped over. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing I did before. I'm going to run a thin line of thick down this line. Go ahead and put some kicker on the back side. Lay it in place. Not only will this keep the shelf a little bit more stable, this will also keep stuff from sliding off the shelf. Should be ready, all good to go. You'll see here that my drawers fit easily in, just like that. Very good. Now what we're going to do is, because you want to make it sure that your drawers don't fall out every time you use your drawers. So what we've included is some 1/4 by 1/4 bass. And what that's going to do is that's going to line up right inside the line. If you line it up with the notches, like the bottom edge of the notches, what you'll actually be able to do is there's enough room in the design for the drawers to come out. So you'll be able to take them out. If anything ever gets in behind them or whatever, you'll be able to take them out of there as long as you line them up right along the bottom of your notches. So there you can see what I mean. Now what I would do with this is I would actually go ahead and, just for safe measure, I would put my drawer in, set it up, and then I would open the drawer and glue this piece in place. You can get it lined up just by eyeballing that front edge. And that's how I do it. The reason I do that is because if for some reason everything's not perfectly square, you will still be able to have your drawer in there and you won't have to take that piece out. This is just a good measure thing. And you can eyeball that in place. What I'm going to try to do is hit this with a little bit of kicker. Hold it all the way across. Once it's staying on its own, I'm going to lift up on it and hit it with some more kicker. You want to make sure you keep your drawer away from that until it's completely dry. So if you've done that correctly and you've got your drawer stop in there right, what you should be able to do is bring your drawer out to it, tilt it a little bit, and your drawer will still come out. But if you don't tilt it, your drawer should hold, no problem. Now we're going to do the same process on the bottom drawer. So now your next step is going to be to install your side caddies. These are really, really simple. All you have to do is line them up. And what I did on these was I went ahead and just ran a bead of thick down each piece. And then placed my supports in while it was still curing. Once those are in there, I just went ahead and ran a little bead down each end so that it would hold, and then hit it with some kicker. But that's it. You would do the exact same thing the other side. What I did on mine was I grabbed one of my sanding blocks and I just set it up on my sanding block so that I wouldn't break off my sidecar piece when I'm doing the other side. Just like that, and just kind of hold it there. And you can do the other side. Okay, so as you can see, we're pretty much complete. The last step to this whole process is the paper towel holder. Now, I will tell you, these dowel rods swell and shrink, expand and contract quite a bit sometimes, and this balsa or this birch ply is not going to shrink and expand quite as much. So if it's a little tight on the end, it's super easy to fix it. All you need to do is take your handy dandy little Dremel here, and if you're real careful, you can take a little bit of that material out of there and you'll get a better fit. That's already much better. And I just discovered a joint that I forgot to glue. So while I'm doing this, I'm going to do that right now so we don't have an issue. I'm going to give that just a little bit more with my sanding. You're not going to take a lot of material off there because you still want it to be a snug fit, and I think that's going to be perfect. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to check my fit, and I forgot to glue that piece too, so we're going to take care of that right now. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. That's going to need just a little bit more. You want that to be a little bit snug, but you also don't want to pull it apart when you're taking your paper towel rack on and off. Then all it is you install your paper towel dowel, and then the little donut you can put right on the end. That should be a nice snug fit. You're going to want to keep it out away from your other one. And then what I do is I just take my thick CA and run a bead of thick CA around that dowel to that donut. And you can turn it and get it where you want. And then just kind of eyeball line it up. It doesn't have to be perfect. And once I get that all set where I like it, I can hit that with a little bit of kicker. And that will keep my paper towel rack in place. Well guys, that's pretty much it. As you can see, the Balsa USA Build Caddy is complete and is ready for all of your building supplies. You've got 2 drawers, side caddies for screwdrivers, whatever you want, T-handles. Got plenty of space up here for epoxies and glue and all kinds of tools, paper towels. Happy accident, a roll of wax paper actually fits right in the center there. And you can have all this stuff handy for your next build. It'll make it real nice to be able to have all your stuff within your reach. And if you're anything like me, you won't spend 10 minutes on each build looking for tools that you just had in your hand. Got a little spot for your pipettes. So plenty of space, plenty of room. You can put all your tools on here. Of course, if we're really going to set this thing up right, we want to go ahead and put on a roll of paper towels. Just like that. And you're ready to go. You can move on to your next project. As always, thank you very much for watching, and happy building.